What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sporting Cast podcast. I'm your host, Lucas Red, wishing you all a happy 2026. I hope you guys all have goals set out for this year and accomplish them. Like anything, my goal is to grow this podcast, so feel free to like, subscribe, and share. This first guest will maybe relate to that a little bit. Shane Kenney. Shane worked a corporate life for a few years before pursuing a coaching career in the Chicagoland area for basketball. So Shane's going to join the show shortly, and we are going to hear his story, and that maybe can help inspire some of you if you guys aren't happy in your current situation. So get ready. Hopefully you're motivated and ready to kickstart a new year, and hopefully Shane provides some good content that can inspire all of you to chase your goals this year. And welcome back to another episode of the Sporting Cast podcast, episode 11, the first episode of 2026. Brings my boy, Shane Kenney, oldest brother of Colin Kenney and Kevin Kenney, for those listeners, two guys that I kind of ran around with in my younger heydays. Shane, you're a few years older than me, but we were able to be connected through running. Shane, how are you today, brother?
I am great, Lucas. Happy New Year, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to chop it up tonight.
Well, hey, high expectations. We're kicking off the year with you. So, some good content is needed, and we'll just go up from there. So appreciate you joining, brother.
I'm hoping I can set the tone right for 2026. Let's do it.
So, Shane, February 2024, take me back to that time and even before then. You quit your corporate job and you pursue a coaching career in basketball. In the Chicagoland area, you're doing the city director for the Pro Skills basketball affiliation, and then you're also the St. Ignatius sophomore boys basketball coach. But before that, you had a corporate life. You played sports growing up. Take me back into how you got into basketball, because that wasn't something that you played in high school, really, and then B, navigating a career and ultimately coming down this path.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy to kind of give you the full rundown. And kind of the irony behind it all, which is to your point right there. I played basketball my first 2 years of high school, freshman, sophomore level, and, kind of had a bit of a falling out of love with the sport due to a few different things. I decided not to play my junior year. Was also a much better runner, which is ultimately what I went on to do collegiately in cross country and track. But basketball was always my favorite sport to both play and to watch and just be around. And so, after I graduated from St. Xavier University in 2014, I was done running, moved to downtown Chicago and started my corporate job. I was working at a staffing firm in 2014. It did that for a number of years. And, I was at the point where I can confidently say, hated my job at all. It paid the bills. I was making good friends, decent money. I was living in the city, but it never once felt like my calling. It never felt like it was something I was truly passionate about. And so I was 26 years old. It was, about 2017, 2018 timeframe. I started seeking opportunities to get involved more locally in my community. And I came across an opportunity to coach a sixth grade boys basketball team at my parish, which I'm still a parishioner at, St. Clement School in Lincoln Park in Chicago. I ended up becoming the head coach for the sixth grade boys team. And from the first practice on, just absolutely fell in love with it. I coached with one of my really good buddies, Mark Gore, another Chesterton graduate. He was my assistant. He was living in the city at the time. And man, we just had a blast. We loved it. We ended up winning the championship our first year with that sixth grade team. And by the end of that season, had recognized a sincere, genuine passion for coaching. I felt like I was at my best when coaching, but more importantly, I was giving back and doing something that I felt was a positive impact on the community and those kids on the team. And furthermore, as I continued to grow as a coach, felt that I cared so much more about the job that paid me $0, which was coaching. I was a volunteer for my first 4 years, didn't make a dime. I cared way more about what was happening there than what was actually happening in my work life. And I always point to a really pivotal moment in my career and life where I was coaching a game And one of my players, who was sort of the smallest guy in the team, the least developed, he hadn't scored a basket all year. And I put him in the game, and he hit a 3-point shot. And to see just the genuine, just the smile, his teammates, how happy they were for him, how excited he was in that moment. I just remember I cared so much more about that moment than I cared about the deal I closed at work that day that like made me commission and made me money. And so I realized from that moment forward, I said to myself, I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know if this ever will happen, but my goal is to carve out a full-time job for myself in the world of sports, specifically basketball. And that became my goal. And so I ended up staying at St. Clement for 4 years as a volunteer coach, 6th grade, then 7th grade, then 8th grade. And it was around 2021 that I started making a sincere effort to try to expand my own sort of basketball network within Chicago. So I sent emails to hundreds of coaches, honestly, high school coaches, college coaches, all throughout the greater Chicago area, just kind of telling them a little bit more about me and my desire to grow my basketball coaching career, essentially. And approximately 2 people responded to me. One of them was Matt Monroe, who was the head varsity boys basketball coach at St. Ignatius College Prep, where I'm currently coaching. And the other was Mike McGrath, who was the head boys coach at University of Chicago. And this is important because this is kind of how I got to PSB, to your question, Lucas, was I ended up kind of building a bit of a relationship with Coach McGrath at UC. I went and observed some practices. He let me come hang out, be around the team a little bit. I ended up working. He offered me the chance to work some of their prospect camps. And it was at the first prospect camp that I worked, this would have been then in 2022, that I met somebody who had worked with Pro Skills Basketball in Charlotte. He basically told me, hey, I'm not sure if you're trying to kind of get more into the AAU side of things, but we're trying to build our program in Chicago. I think you might be a good fit. If you want, I can connect you with our, co-founders and this or that. And I said, sure, let's do it. And my thing was I was going to say no, or was never going to say no to a basketball opportunity. I didn't care how little it paid, if it even did pay, whatever it was, I had a mindset that I was going to say yes to it. So it was around that time I ended up getting the job on staff at St. Ignatius. And so I kind of had both these things going. I was now coaching at the high school level. And I had an opportunity to build PSB-Chicago as our city director. And so I was doing this part-time in 2023 and eventually built it to the point, and I'm happy to expand on it, in early 2024, where the program was doing well enough and I was essentially earning enough now through the game of basketball to where I could finally quit my corporate career. I did that at the age of 32. I had just turned 32. And in February 2024, I went all in. And so it's crazy that I've been doing this full time now for almost 2 years, coaching at Ignatius and running the program here. But it's been just incredibly gratifying, and I'm really happy and grateful that I did it, and I wouldn't change a thing.
So it's interesting when you say you didn't necessarily hate your corporate job entirely. You just kind of found that burning passion for basketball. However, when you realized that you could quit the corporate job for that, coaching basketball primarily, was there a certain feeling? Do you remember that moment? Oh shit, I can go forward with this. What was that like?
I do. I absolutely do. It was incredibly exciting, also scary, to be honest. There was definitely a part of me that was like, man, this is a risk, right? Will this work out? Will it not? Who knows? But at that point in time, I had such a great support network around me. My wife was incredibly enthusiastic about it, supportive about it. Family was as well, friends. And I just had this inkling and this sort of urge that this was the right thing to do. And despite the maybe scary nature of it, I'm going to go all in and make this work. I'm not going to give myself the chance not to. And so, yeah, I do remember that moment quite vividly, for sure. So, yeah, just again, really grateful and proud of the fact that it's worked out.
So when you said you coached at the middle school for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade for 4 years, did you coach a certain group of guys through their middle school career, or was it just you were hopping around the grades?
Yeah, actually, I did. I stayed with the first group at sixth grade. I moved up with them to seventh and moved up with them to eighth. And then my last year there, I actually went back down to the sixth grade level, and was intending to basically then work and follow the same pattern with that group. But it was after that year with that sixth grade team, with my fourth year, that I was able to get the opportunity at St. Ignatius. But what is a cool thing is that the one of the players on the first team I ever coached at St. Clement, and then coached at sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade, was one of the starters on my first ever sophomore team I coached at Ignatius. So it was like a true sort of full circle moment. And I had another example last year. A kid I coached at the sixth grade level, my last year, St. Clement, played for me on the sophomore team at Ignatius last year. And so there have been some really cool, like, full circle moments where I've coached kids at the grade school level, and now I'm coaching them years later at the high school level. And it's just really cool to see the growth and maturation, of course, of their game, but also them as people. But that's how the setup worked at St. Clement the years that I was there.
And that's exactly what I was going into. What was it like? Again, obviously you get the satisfaction of seeing them go from 12, 13 years old to, 14, 15 years old, of just their game in general getting better, right? Physically they're getting better, they're getting taller, they're just getting, utilizing their skills better. But what's it like from the emotional side? Like, you're coaching kids through puberty, but you're also getting them to be that young adult high school phase. What was that like? Was it challenging? Was it something that was kind of new to you to coach these guys at a different grade, or did it help that you knew these guys from the year before? Was it a little bit of both? Probably something helpful and a little bit unbeneficial.
Yeah, I think it's what you just said there. It is a little bit of both. I think that on one hand, it's a little bit easier because they're bigger, stronger, more athletic. At that point, you'd hope that they understand more advanced basketball concepts, and they can pick things up a little bit more quickly. So that's always cool to see, right? Kind of, like, this is really what the growth has looked like in their development. But on the flip side, I think that, there's just higher expectations, right? When you're playing at the high school level, the onus is much more on winning, right? And on, of course, like, some kids are trying to essentially build themselves up to be recruited if they want to play in college or whatnot. And so there's just a little bit of higher stakes, I guess, and then higher expectations. And that can be a challenge. Some kids ease right into that and can deal with it well. Others don't, right? Maybe it's a bit more of a difficult transition. But regardless, I think when you're coaching any group, what I've learned now, having coached kids, I mean, really, even though I've never coached teams younger than sixth grade, I've worked and trained kids who are second, third, fourth grade, up through seniors in high school. A huge gamut. Is, you got to remember that they are kids at the end of the day, right? Any of those levels. And, I think back, I always try to put myself back in their shoes. Like, how was I, at the seventh grade level and at the freshman, sophomore level, and some of the things I thought as a player and how I approached the game, and try to remember that, I'm 33 now. This is, I can't expect them to think like me or do this. And so you kind of got to manage your own expectations as a coach and realize that these are kids. Not everyone learns the same. You got to kind of approach them and make sure it's fit for them personally. But yeah, it comes with challenges. It comes with things that make it a seamless transition. But every kid is different to some degree.
Now, before I ask a follow-up question, take me back 20 years ago. Like your brother Kevin, did you wear rec spec goggles?
Oh, dude, I started that trend, man. Come on now. Where do you think you got that from? Yeah, I did.
I need to get a picture of that so I can put it in this little video so we can, see the old point guard sensation back in the day. But no, that's good.
Yeah, I did. I had really poor vision, and so I had to get glasses early. I think I got glasses in fifth or sixth grade. And I was too early to have contacts. I didn't get contacts until I think freshman. I got contacts my eighth grade year. Yeah. And so, for sixth and seventh grade at St. Pat's, I wore the rec specs. And that was kind of funny because that was, we were born in Blue Island, Illinois, and that's where I was born and raised. And we moved on the south side of Chicago. We moved to Chesterton, where I was entering sixth grade. And so that was my first ever, my introduction to the team of St. Pat's was this kid, who the heck's this kid, man? Wearing rec specs, and I had to prove them with my game. You know what I mean? I had to be, listen, I'm wearing rec specs. I might look goofy, but
I'm Horace Grant.
Well, that's what matters. So it was, but I'm glad that Kevin sort of carried on that tradition. Colin did not, I don't think he ever has had eyesight issues. So fortunately for him, but man, the rec specs, man, that was quite the vibe.
So bringing up Colin, your younger brother, who did not wear the rec specs, but he did play basketball in college, Furman University for 2 or 3 years, and then Lewis University, right?
Yep.
As this is happening, when he's doing this, you are really full swing into coaching almost at this point. How was that like? Are you watching him as your younger brother, or are you watching him as a coach and God, do this, do that, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, man. Again, a little bit of both, but definitely starting to watch much, much more as a coach, right? I can't help myself. I think it was cool. I mean, he was at Furman for 3 years, obviously Division I program, a really good program and a great conference. So I would watch his games as often as I could. And even just watching some of the things that they were doing offensively, defensively, different concepts I'd pick up on. I mean, I'd watch their games sometimes and I'd have a little notebook, just taking notes and doing things. So obviously I'm watching to support my brother and cheering for him, but I'm also watching him with a bit of a coach lens. I'm just watching the game with a little bit of a coach lens, and I think, as a coach, there's nothing new in basketball, right? It's a copycat league. You hear that all the time. You're constantly trying to take things from other teams, other programs, other coaches, and that his time at Furman was no exception, and Lewis as well to some degree. But I would say it was just so cool being able to see him go through that, and actually I've had him he's come out to some PSB practices over the past couple of years, and he's led some trainings with our team. I've actually had him come in and speak to some of our older players and our athletes about what it takes to play at the Division I level and, some of those things. So just super grateful that I've been able to kind of even every now and then just get him into the mix with my program here. Because again, he's the one who played Division I basketball, not me, right? Mm-hmm. I was a runner in college, as was Kevin. Colin sort of broke that mold. So there's definitely a bit of irony there that I'm the one now coaching. But I told him if he ever wants to have a career in coaching, he'd be fantastic at it. And I hope eventually at some point he has the ability to give it a shot somewhere. But yeah, that's it was really cool always watching him back at those days, especially given where I was at with my coaching career.
So like you mentioned, you were a runner, right? And, not that you weren't a basketball player growing up, but your main sport was running at the end of the day. How do kids take that when you tell them that you really weren't, primarily a basketball player in your, heyday, prime, however you want to say that? Do they maybe look at you funny sometimes, or is it something that, you've let the coaching in the past do the talking for that matter?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say that was something I maybe, I don't know if struggled with is the right word when I was building PSB here, but definitely something that crossed my mind is I look at a lot of other directors within pro skills basketball in our other cities. Chicago is just one of 28 cities that we're in. And a lot of them, probably half, maybe even slightly more than half, they played high-level college basketball. A lot of guys played professionally overseas, this or that. My playing career is not remotely close to what there is, So there was definitely something to be said about just being really confident in who I am and the knowledge I bring and how I can run a program and a team, and what I have that maybe those guys or girls don't have, which is, a business background, a sales mindset, the ability to recruit, the ability to motivate, ability to organize, right? And then the ability to teach basketball concepts in a way that anyone can relate to, and not oftentimes sometimes the best players are not the best coaches, right? What's the old phrase, right? Those
The 80 line, yeah.
those each, and so I think, I played for coaches like Coach Ray, who you had on the podcast. I had the fortunate opportunity to run for him. I also played basketball for him. He was my freshman basketball coach at CHS back in the day. He's an example of someone who played basketball at a high level, right? I played at Ball State. I've also played for other coaches who maybe barely played in high school, and they're phenomenal coaches too. And so I think for me, it was just having confidence in my vision of what I'm about, and that I've gotten better every year as a coach. And I think at the end of the day, what I've found is that kids don't really care, at least this generation, what you did in your playing day. What they care about is the experience they're getting with you now. Am I learning? Am I growing? Am I developing? And if the answer to all those questions is yes, then, that's really all that matters at the end of the day. And so, yeah, I think for me, it was definitely, I had to overcome it a little bit. I had to learn how to sell myself and have confidence in who I am. But yeah, it's definitely something unique, I think, about my background, maybe that's counter to what you see with a lot of coaches these days around the playing background.
And that's interesting. So when you say like kids don't really care about like what you did, do you say that as in you've tried to relate to them in the past and they're just not understanding / picking up, or is it just because they're a kid and they're just kind of more focused on their own journey, right? Does that make sense? You know what I'm trying to get to?
No, it does. It does. I think it's more the latter. I think they're focused on just what are they doing? Where are they going? How are they improving? Mm-hmm. And I think also I'm grateful that, without question, the kids at Ignatius and also the vast majority of the kids who play for our program here, they come from good households. They're good kids. Like they are respectful of authority, right? They're respectful of coaches. And so they're not out there like, oh, well, like, did you play? Did you not? Whatever. They're just, it's yes, coach. It's, oh, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Right. And so I think they're just much more concerned about the experience they're getting, what they had going on, than, backgrounds or this or that. But I will say too, I mean, we play like every now and then, we'll hop in, like I'll play, with our team or whatever at the sophomore level. My assistant coach will join me, like we'll hop in very infrequently, but
when the muscles are feeling good.
Yeah. I'm feeling loot. And, it's like, guys, actually, I still can hoop, right? Like I can score on you guys. I can do this. I can do that. And I think that also helps set the tone for them a little bit. Like, oh, actually, like, okay, coach actually can't play a little bit. Like this, mm-hmm. It's not just, because you gotta have at least some sort of ability to show that, like, hey, I do know the game. I can play a little bit. So I think that is helpful. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
So tell me more about the PSB stuff, right? So you guys really work with all ages, trying to really just impact the Chicagoland community in a positive way more than anything, help them grow their game, be young adults, and just kind of carry on with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just take a step back to kind of describe PSB a little more holistically, and then can dive into a little more about what we built so far here in Chicago. But so PSB was founded in 2009 by two guys, Brendan Winters and Logan Kosmalski, played at Davidson. They were there like right before Steph Curry got there, so they missed him. But they had successful overseas careers, and then they launched the program in Charlotte in 2009. And the mission of the organization was not necessarily to be a hyper elite basketball club that's only designed to serve the best of the best players, Division I players or bust. Not the vibe at all. We definitely have really good teams in PSB nationally, and we've sent, I think now 350 kids to play at the college level, and PSB alumni play professionally. So I want to be clear that we do have really talented kids in our program, but we want to be a program that is for all, and for kids of any sort of skill background, advanced, intermediate, beginner. If you have a vested interest in playing basketball, we want to provide a space for you to play and a space for you to improve. And so, we pride ourselves on kind of keeping player development at the forefront. We pride ourselves on having really good coaches lead our teams, coaches who are teachers of the game and stewards of the game, care for kids, not just winning at all costs, right? They are truly about the development and the growth of their players. And then I think, there's a big need in youth basketball on the AU level and just programs that are organized, are detail oriented, and things start on time, end on time. Communication is top notch. The administrative side of things is clear. And that's kind of another one of our value propositions. It's just a no nonsense organization that does things the right way, as cliche as that might be, and operates efficiently and does what we say we're going to do. So that's kind of the ethos of the program. As I mentioned, we're in 28 different U.S. markets and counting. And as our Chicago director, I'm responsible for really all aspects of the program. We're recruiting players, building and forming teams, hiring coaches, building our schedule, signing us up for tournaments and leagues, and if we run camps or clinics or different trainings, kind of setting what are parents paying for? What are kids getting out of this membership? And then, I mentioned hiring coaches, managing gym rental agreements, like all that sort of stuff I'm responsible for doing. And so it's been really cool to see the growth of our program in all of those areas. So for example, when I launched the program it was fall of 2022 going into spring of 2023, it was me and a bag of basketballs. That was it. I didn't have any coaches, didn't have any gyms, didn't have any players, nothing. And in that first year, I always tell people I feel like I had to fight, scratch, and claw for every single kid that signed up with our program, because they were taking a chance on us. We're a brand new program in Chicago. Even though we are a large, nationally established organization, again, they don't really care about that. They care about who's Shane Kenney, what is my kid going to get out of this program? How are you guys different than other Chicago organizations? And so we had two teams to start in 2023. We had a 5th grade boys team and a 7th grade boys team. I coached our 7th grade team. I hired a guy to coach our 5th grade team. We managed to find a single gym we could practice at in the Ukrainian Village neighborhood of Chicago. A very small gym, nonetheless. 2 baskets. It was not glitzy. It was not glamorous. In fact, it was rather gritty, but I loved it. Our teams were not good. We were not the most talented, the biggest, the most physical, but me and Rodney, my other coach, we just were committed to just grinding, with these groups and never giving up on them and continue to build and grow. And so, what started off as some rocky starts with those groups over the course of the season, they got better and better, and 30-point losses were turning to 10-point losses, and 20-point losses were turning to 2-point losses. And then, 10-point losses were turning to 6-point wins, and close losses were turning to double-digit wins. Like the tides really started to shift from the start of that 2023 year to the very end of it. And it started just kind of growing like that. Parents told other parents. I started recruiting more coaches. We started getting our name out there more. So we went from 2 teams in 1 gym in year 1 to 5 teams. We got a second gym in year 2. In year 3, we built all the way up to 9 teams. And now we have a coaching staff of 9 coaches. We have 3 gyms we use. We have over 100 kids in the program. Like, it's really cool to see the growth. I think this year in 2026, we'll probably be 12 to 13 teams, potentially more, who knows, but it's just really starting to take off. And so, it's been really cool, making impact on kids who live all across the city. We have teams as old as like 16U. So these are current sophomores going to be juniors, next year. That's kind of our oldest group right now. And then we have teams as young as 4th grade as well. So, and every age in between. So, yeah, it's been just really cool to see the journey. I know I kind of gave you a lot there. You didn't necessarily ask that, but
No, man, you're good. Share story.
where we started to where we're at now, and hopefully where we're going. But yeah, that's a little bit more about kind of PSB at large and what we've done here locally.
What's your very quick pitch to parents looking to maybe move their kids to a new Chicago program just to help their kid grow, become a better player, become a better person? What's someone, I have a feeling at least someone will be watching out there in the Chicagoland area. What's your pitch?
Great question. So, I mean, I'll give you the pitch, but what I typically would do is I want to find out more about their son or daughter's basketball experience, right? Start there. Start by asking questions, so we can understand where their needs really lie. Because I'll be honest, like there might be some players, I know this might be contradictory to what I said earlier, but there might be some players where we're not the best fit. And I want to know that too, right? An example would be if it's a parent who is only focused on winning, right? If they come to me and say, hey, like my child played for this organization last summer, they went 30-2, and I want him to be on the best circuit and win a ton of games. I think I want to get these looks and that looks. Like I might tell that parent respectfully, hey, we might not be the program for you if that's like the central focus is just winning, right? There's a lot of other programs in Chicagoland I could refer you to that like maybe that more is the vibe. With all due respect, what if a parent comes to me and says, hey, like, I want my son he was in 6th grade. He wants to work going into 7th grade year. He wants to improve his jump shot and his ball handling and his ability to play in a 5-on-5 environment. And we're hoping this can be a great summer for him just to learn the game and wants to have fun and, maybe make some friends, meet kids from other parts of the city. Like I definitely have a pitch for that parent, right? And I feel confident we can deliver on those things, but always start by asking questions, like kind of diving into what their needs really are. But, the short pitch would be kind of the 3 tenets I more or less gave you in talking about the organization, which is 1, we are going to really pour into your child around not just individual player development, but team development, which I always explain to parents. They are different things. Individual development would be your shooting, your ball handling, your passing, your ability to play one-on-one defense, things like that. Your development within a team is do I know how to play in a 5-on-5 environment, right? Like, do I know how to space the floor? Can I set screens for others? Do I know how to cut? Do I know how to read screens and use them? Do I know how to talk on defense? Can I play help side defense? Can I rebound? Do I know technically where I need to be at all times and like how to move the ball and how to run and how to play? And what you find is that a lot of organizations will focus on the focus on the individual, but they actually don't know how to teach the 5-on-5 component and teaching kids how to play. And I think we do a good job teaching kids how to play, And so when you kind of break it down, I think a lot of parents, they grasp that, they get it. And then, I really sell our coaches. I think we have a great coaching staff that I've hired here. And so I tell people, you're going to get coaches that really care. They understand the game. They have to interview with me. I don't just hire anybody. Like they have to have proven that they can teach and build and grow and train. So they're all vetted. They're all here for the right reasons. They're not here for the money or anything. That's not why they're doing this. Trust me. Doing this addition to whatever their full-time job is. So they're really giving a lot of time. And then finally, I'm selling me, right? As someone who is more or less I am the director. I manage all aspects of the program administratively. Like I tell them, I don't think you're going to find a better communicator of any AAU program in Chicago. I genuinely feel that way, right? You're not going to find someone who's going to be more timely with his email communication or respond to requests quickly or, be able to hop on a call with you at a moment's notice because I am doing this full time, right? So I can commit that time and energy to it now. And so, yeah, usually that's a little bit of an ascended pitch, but they might get portions of that or all of that depending on the need. But those are things I think we offer, and there's other programs I think that do parts of that. I'm not sure how many do all of that. And being a part of a national network of teams and having the ability to play PSB teams from other cities, which we do once a year. We host a national tournament. It's in Virginia Beach this coming up here in June, where we'll have over 100 PSB teams from across the country all under one roof. playing, you know. I don't think there's any other program that can do that, right? So that's another sort of, you know, you can take that position on it too, is just the national impact and reach that we have as well.
So what is your advice to not only people interested in coaching, but just people, like you said, you weren't happy at your corporate job, people who are happy in their current situation, whether it's jobs, school, however you want to say it. What's your advice to those people to be brave enough to make that next jump? Because obviously, you know, it's not always, grass is always green on the other side, right? But for you, no regrets, you're glad you did it. What's your advice to those people thinking that?
Yeah, I love that question. I mean, the first bit of advice is do it, right? And I think do it. Like, just have confidence in yourself, have belief, and do everything you can to make it happen. I would say, to be more specific, like, make an actionable plan around it. Like, for example, when as I mentioned, made the conscious effort and decision that I was going to do all I can to make hoops my full-time thing in whatever capacity it looks like, I made a plan. I still do have a spreadsheet. I'm a big Excel guy. I had a spreadsheet. I called it the Book of Basketball. And it was every single basketball contact I'd ever made, right? Former coaches, different ADs I knew, people working at, like, Cole Teal, for example. You know, I had, like, Chesterton guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a GM for still the Greensboro Swarm.
Yes. I need to get him on the podcast.
You should get him on the podcast. Yeah, but I mentioned him because he's someone I talked to early on. Kevin, my brother Kevin's one of his good college buddies, David Vogel. He's a Division III coach. I talked to him. I had, probably no less than 20 phone calls with people who worked in sports, not just basketball. And I would just ask them, can I have 15, 20 minutes of your time? I'd love to pick your brain around, how did you get into sports? What did you do? What steps can I take, right? And I would take detailed notes of every call. You know, it was one thing I did. As I mentioned, outside of my full-time job, I'd go home, I'd send 5 or 10 emails to coaches, right? Do the same thing the next night, right? And I have like a 98% non-response rate, honestly. But the 2 guys that responded are now the 2 things I'm doing, and it's my full-time job. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, just, it's a volume game, it's a numbers game, putting yourself out there. So yeah, I would say make an action plan. And this isn't just sports, this would be for anything people are passionate about doing. Everything, I think, is a connections-driven industry. So build connections. Never say no to work if it's something you're passionate about. And you got to be willing to do things for free, right? Like, I worked
this podcast
for full year. Yeah, great example. Yeah. Or I volunteer coached for 4 years before I made a single dime off it, you know? In fact, I was losing money because I was Ubering all over the city.
Smart investment, though. Hey, good investment in the long run, brother.
Yeah, but you do have to, and that's kind of actually that point, is investing in yourself, right? So yeah, not being shy to take any opportunity thrown your way, putting yourself out there, having a plan, not getting discouraged, not giving up. I think it's easy to, no one's getting back to me. You're like,
question yourself.
Yeah, it's easy to question yourself, man. But, you know, if it takes 5 years, if it takes 10 years, it doesn't matter. If you can get there eventually, that's a win, you know? And so I think for people who have that desire, give yourself some grace, give yourself patience, sort of that whistle while you work mentality, you know what I mean? And just, you know, do all you can to make it happen. But I'm such a believer that if you have a dream, if you have a vision, then you can make it happen. Like, if I can do it, anyone can. And I think that, you know, we need more people to take chances and take your son yourself, you know, which, yeah, now I'm such an advocate for what you're doing with your podcast. I don't know if you ever plan to make it full time or what, but I mean, if that's your goal, I would say go for it, you know, and I tell it to anyone who has those ambitions.
No, man, I appreciate that. And just from a coaching perspective, I was fortunate enough to kind of help formerly IUPUI, now IU Indianapolis, the cross country and track teams the last 2 years. So there's a lot of satisfaction that comes with coaching. I'd say podcast blows up, I can get back into coaching on the side as well. But no, man, I appreciate that. And just kind of circle things up. the supporting cast, when you kind of reflect on where you were to where you are now, who are the people that have really made a positive impact in your life?
Great question, man. I'll throw it back to Coach Ray. One of your recent guests, man. I always say he was the best coach I ever had. I would still say that. I hope he knows that, like, just the impact he had on me in high school and even, beyond is, it was hard to really measure, but definitely from a coaching standpoint, he's up there. I would say, Coach Monroe, our Matt Monroe, our current varsity coach at St. Ignatius, is really the first person. I mean, he took a chance on me, right, bringing me on and hiring me from the grade school level up to the high school level, and so I will forever be in his gratitude for giving me that opportunity, without question. I say the same thing about my pro skills basketball leadership team, Brendan Winters and Logan Kosmalski. Same thing, man. Gave me an opportunity, took a chance on me, and to this day, are just incredibly supportive. So those people all stand out for sure. And then, obviously my family, my mom, my dad, my wife, Angelica, especially Angelica, she has been here through all of the
roller coaster.
Basketball. Yeah. Like I want to do basketball. I don't want to do corporate America anymore. She's been from that point to now, right? She's kind of seen it all. And so, her support, her, ability to lift me up sometimes, or maybe I was feeling doubts, or I had second thoughts, like, what am I doing? Like, is this actually going to lead anywhere? So there's a lot of people, and I'm sure I'm forgetting other people too, but yeah, man, incredibly blessed and grateful to have a great support staff around me. Just again, sometimes I wake up and it's like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this full time, but, every day I do is a blessing, and I never take it for granted.
I'll leave you with this. You live downtown Chicago. What's the vibe right now? The Bears are back. Big weekend. Obviously some other teams are coming along, but primarily Bears talk. What's the prediction for this weekend?
Man, I'm glad you asked. The city is just, it's been electric. Like, everyone's mind is. It's different, man. You can feel the energy in the city. It's palpable. And I've always said, I think most would agree. This is a football town at the end of the day, right? Like, at the end of the, when the Bulls are good, when the Cubs, Sox, Hawks, like, there's energy around every team. But when the Bears are good, it's just a little different. Everyone is about it. And so, yeah, it's been awesome. My wife and I live in the South Loop neighborhood, which is where Soldier Field is too. So, like, we're on game days. It's cool seeing everyone out with their jerseys walking around. It's been great. But, yeah, man, I'm ready to bear down Saturday night. I will absolutely be watching the game. And I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good. I think that, obviously we know the Packers well. Split the regular season series, so this is the rubber match. But we're at home at Soldier Field. I like the Bears in this one. I would say I'm cautiously optimistic, but regardless of what happens, it's been a hell of a season. I am a big believer in Caleb, big believer in Ben Johnson, and the future is super bright. So, bear down, baby. I'm ready to go. Let's beat Green Bay.
I like that. Last thing for you. I know you're a big try a burger in the city type of guy. What's the best burger in the city?
The best burger in the city is the Drop-In. It is in the River West neighborhood. They are known that they literally have like two things on the menu. Burger's one of them. But you got to go. It's called the NADC burger, which stands for Not a Damn Chance. You order it exactly how they prepare it. Don't do any modifications.
That's a kiss.
Order the beast mode fries, specifically the beast mode fries as your side, and you'll be a happy man. Yeah, I'm a big burger connoisseur, if you will. Me and a few buddies, we have our little group that we try to try a different burger place, usually once a month or so. And we've been to a lot, man. We've been to a good amount of them in the city now, and that still is our number one spot. We all agree. So the Drop-In is the number one burger in Chicago until further notice.
Shane, appreciate you coming along, share your story. Wishing you best of luck with the high school season and just growing the Chicago PSB. we'll get you on here at some point again, just talk about a little update, but sharing your story. And I hope the listeners out there know that, take that leap of faith to make changes, the new year, start off the year with your goals, and just, when the bumps come along, just keep going, like you said. So Shane, appreciate you coming on, man.
Absolutely. This was a blast, Lucas. I really appreciate you having me on, and love what you're doing with the podcast, man. I'll definitely be sure to tune in, and let's do it again soon.
Sounds good, bro. Bear down.
Yes, sir. Bear down.